Sorry I disappeared for half a year there. In the 6 months I've been gone for, I've been playing Halo Infinite 24/7 365. I have elected that every day I'm not allowed to see sunlight until I've pulled at least a 30 kill game of Oddball. And can you really blame me? The max rank reward in this game now is that sweet Master Chief armor. I mean, all I'm doing is taking initiative here, showing a work ethic. Anyways, my totally healthy living habits aside, I'm wanting to talk about Halo Infinite today. And in particular, I want to talk about a certain Halo mode that everyone has forgotten about that I think should be added back. Can you guess what it is? Anyone? Well, anyone who got the right answer is a cheater because I put it in the title of the video. Last Spartan Standing is the mode they launched last year alongside Halo Infinite Season 2. This mode was essentially a kind of half BR. It had battle royale elements such as a closing circle to stop people from camping, and an emphasis on the whole last man standing gimmick. But it wasn't a full-blown BR as it was missing pretty crucial stuff such as the massive open world map, and the whole aspect of scavenging for loot to build up your arsenal, which is a core facet of basically every battle royale gameplay loop you can find. What I liked about this mode so much is it basically played like a highlight reel of all of the best moments of an average battle royale match. I find that battle royale matches are usually split up into a 3-act structure. The first act sees you landing on the map and finding your first weapons, and then going head to head with other poor people. The second act is that phase of the game where you spend ages walking around scavenging for better loot. You know, the downtime of the game and nothing really happens. The phase of the game when, say in Fortnite, you'd go around fighting bosses and opening vaults and stuff like that. And then the third phase of the game, when the storm circle's starting to get really small and you're forced to have your final confrontation with the enemies. Tensions are high, your teammates are falling like flies. And just barely somehow, against all of the odds, against all of the other players racing against you, you pull in the win. And it's the greatest moment ever.
Oh. Badger, I died. Yeah, meow.
Don't get me wrong when I say this, the second phase of the Battle Royale gameplay loop is very important, and the mode as a whole would not work without it. But I really just can't be bothered with it sometimes, man. Sometimes, all I want is the high stakes intensity that comes with the idea of last man standing. The fear that any wrong move can get you booted straight out of the game and back to the lobby, without having to walk around and do nothing for 20 minutes straight, only to get murked by a sniper. This is what I like so much about Last Spartan Standing. It's basically like the first and last phases of the Battle Royale gameplay loop smushed together into a comparatively bite-sized and much shorter game mode. Every facet of this mode is built around that nail-bitingly intense last man standing combat loop that makes Battle Royale games work so well. As an example, rather than exploring the massive map and looting to get better weapons like you would in every Battle Royale game, Last Spartan Standing works on a system very similar to Gun Game, where you spawn with a very crappy basic loadout at the start, which in this mode is literally just a disruptor and nothing else. But then as you eliminate more of your enemies, you get points which you can use to level up that loadout. For example, level 2 is an assault rifle alongside your disruptor, and then the final level is a battle rifle and an energy sword. This mode was fun as hell. It wasn't a full-blown Battle Royale mode, which is something Halo could probably use, but it was its own thing, and it was pretty fun. And a few months later, it was removed from matchmaking due to being the least popular playlist in the entirety of the playlist lineup. Now, the obvious thing you jump to when you hear this is, oh, Last Spartan Standing must just suck then. Don't bring it back, forget it exists. But I disagree. I think there are a few core issues that caused this playlist to be the least played in all of Halo Infinite, and I want to go over what those are now. Number 1 was that for the first 2 weeks of this playlist's life, it was tied to an event. And with the first few Infinite events, it meant the only way you could progress the event pass is by playing the specific playlist. So what was happening was, rather than people playing Last Spartan Standing when they wanted to, a healthy amount, they ended up just constantly playing it and burning themselves out on it to complete the event pass. So, in a hypothetical Last Spartan Standing relaunch, I would not make people feel like they have to get on the playlist to make progress. Not that that would even be an issue anymore now, because Infinite's events don't lock you to specific playlists if you want to make progress, but still, I felt it was worth mentioning. Another issue that caused Last Spartan Standing to die is that you couldn't matchmake with your friends, which is a problem given that Halo Infinite is a multiplayer game. Now, of all the problems with this mode I'm going to mention here, this is the one I can understand the most. Like, if one of these issues had to not get fixed up, this would probably be the one I'd go with, because I don't really have a solution for this. If you let people matchmake with their friends in Last Spartan Standing, a free-for-all Last Man Standing mode, you're gonna have a chunk of your absolutely scumbag degenerates who team up with their friends and ruin the mode for everyone else. There's not really much you can do about this issue. Sure, you can report players and they'll get banned like a week or so after the fact, but that doesn't stop them from loading up ults and just doing it again. So if this issue just never got fixed, I honestly wouldn't really be too bothered about it. The limitation definitely sucks, but I can completely understand why it was there. The next issue is the expectations of the player base when the mode launched. You've got to remember, when this mode launched, it was the start of Halo Infinite Season 2, which came off of the back of a 6-month Season 1, where basically no content came out after the initial launch of the game. Halo Infinite was also missing key staples of other Halo games, such as co-op, firefight, forge, infection, custom games browser, progression system, yada 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 yada. Halo Infinite needed a kiss of life so the game could keep going. It did not need Last Spartan Standing. Season 2 should have prioritized adding fan favorite stuff like Infection or Firefight or something along those lines, as opposed to this new untested mode. However, Halo Infinite does not need a savior anymore. It has all of those missing key features that fans complained about that I mentioned just now. What Halo Infinite could use now, though, is Last Spartan Standing. Last Spartan Standing now no longer has to shoulder the burden of keeping Halo Infinite alive and being a good substitute for fan favorite modes. All it has to do now is be a fun game mode, which it definitely succeeds at during the first week of the playlist's lifespan. The final issue I have with Last Spartan Standing is the new maps they introduced. The BTB map Breaker was designed specifically with Last Spartan Standing in mind, and on that particular map the mode plays wonderfully. However, after a few weeks, the Halo Infinite team introduced Last Spartan Standing to the rest of the BTB maps in this game. BTB maps that were not designed around Last Spartan Standing. BTB maps that played horribly on Last Spartan Standing. If they were to put LSS back in Halo Infinite, they need to get these maps out of it. Bare minimum, have the only map on there be Breaker, because that map actually plays well on that mode. But Halo Infinite has a secret weapon now that it didn't when Last Spartan Standing launched and they needed more maps. Forge. They should make 1 or 2 more Last Spartan Standing maps in Forge. Obviously, I don't expect 343 to put the resources to make 2 whole dev main maps into a mode that they themselves have diagnosed as a failure, but I'm sure there is at least one Forger out there who is really passionate about Last Spartan Standing that 343 could work with to make something happen. What 343 missed is that it wasn't that Last Spartan Standing needed more maps, it was that Last Spartan Standing needed more maps that worked well in the Last Spartan Standing game mode, because random unrelated BTB maps that were put into the game months before Last Spartan Standing was added just didn't play well on it. This issue was what personally killed the playlist for me. After they added those older BTB maps to it, I really checked out of this playlist. Back to Team Slayer, I suppose. These are the issues that I feel killed Last Spartan Standing for a lot of people, and if 343 works towards fixing these problems, I see no reason why the playlist can't be a success, because the core gameplay loop of it is genuinely so much fun. And since Last Spartan Standing came out with Halo Infinite Season 2, the game has placed a way bigger emphasis on rotational limited time playlists, with one of the rotational playlist types the game has being specifically for free-for-all playlists. Come on, 343 Industries. Fix people's problems with Last Spartan Standing and put it in as a rotational free-for-all playlist. I know you guys want to. Come on, Pierre, I know you want to do this. The way I see it, there's absolutely no harm in at least trying to make this work. I mean, the absolute worst case scenario here is that you just remove the playlist from the matchmaking rotation again. There's no harm in giving Last Spartan Standing the second chance it deserves. Anyways, that's my thoughts on Last Spartan Standing. If I have a comment question for today, do you think Last Spartan Standing should come back? If not, why? Because I would love for it to come back, but I'm really not sure what the common consensus across the Halo community as a whole is, so I'd love to get everyone's input. As always, thank you so much for watching this video, everyone, and I will see you in a future video. Goodbye for now.